Jae-hyun showed up to the library at 3 p.m. exactly.
We'll figure it out.
Not because he was punctual, though he was, but because Kai had asked and Jae-hyun was terrified that being 1 minute late would prove Maya right, that he was still the man who chose everything else over showing up. Kai saw him through the glass doors and ran. Actually ran. Small sneakers slapping linoleum, backpack bouncing, face split into a smile so pure it hurt to witness. Jae-hyun! You came! I said I would. Mama said maybe you wouldn't. That grown-ups say things but don't always mean them. The words were innocent. The knife they twisted wasn't. I meant it. I'll always mean it. Kai considered this with the seriousness only 5-year-olds possess when measuring if adults are trustworthy. Then he took Jae-hyun's hand. Small fingers wrapping around his. Trusting. Come see the dinosaur section. They have a T-Rex book that's this big. 3 hours dissolved into dinosaurs and outer space and Kai asking, why, about everything while Jae-hyun answered with the patience of a man who'd finally found something worth his complete attention. Maya watched from the biography section, pretending to browse but really observing. Seeing if he'd check his phone. Get bored. Make excuses? He didn't. When it was time to leave, Kai asked the question Jae-hyun had been hoping for. Can you come to dinner tomorrow? Mama makes spaghetti on Wednesdays. Jae-hyun looked at Maya. She hesitated then nodded. One dinner. We'll see how it goes. They walked to the parking lot. Kai chattering about how T-Rex had tiny arms but could still bite through bone. Jae-hyun listening like it was the most important lecture of his life. Then he saw the car. Black Mercedes S-Class. Tinted windows. Parked in the fire lane like laws didn't apply. And leaning against it, arms crossed, face carved from disappointment and calculation, was his father. Kang Dae-hyun. The man who'd built a billion-dollar empire and expected his son to worship at the altar of ambition. The man Jae-hyun hadn't spoken to since the engagement imploded. The man who didn't forgive. Didn't forget. And definitely didn't accept losing. Their eyes met across the parking lot. Maya saw him too. Tensed. Pulled Kai closer. Who is that? She asked quietly. My father. What does he want? Jae-hyun looked at Kai, still babbling about dinosaurs, completely unaware that the most ruthless businessman in Seoul was 10 feet away calculating exactly how to destroy the fragile happiness they just started building. Everything, Jae-hyun said. He wants everything. If you're still watching right now, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Subscribe to our channel for stories that can make you smile, and can also make you cry for absolute strangers. Now, let's get into the story. Dae-hyun didn't move. Just stood there like a monument to everything Jae-hyun had walked away from. Designer suit. Rolex catching afternoon sun. That expression that said he'd already calculated every move and Jae-hyun was playing exactly into his hands. Kai finally noticed. Stop talking mid-sentence about pterodactyls. Jae-hyun? Who's the man? Nobody important. He's staring at us. I know. Maya's grip on Kai tightened. Should we go a different way? No. He wants us to run. We're not running. They walked toward the car. Jae-hyun positioned himself between his father and his family because that's what they were now, whether his father acknowledged it or not. Family. When they got close enough, Dae-hyun spoke. Not to Jae-hyun. To Maya. You must be the woman who destroyed my son's future. Maya's jaw tightened but she didn't respond. Didn't give him the satisfaction. And this is the child. Dae-hyun looked at Kai with the clinical assessment of someone evaluating livestock. He has your eyes. Unfortunate. Don't talk about him, Jae-hyun said quietly. Why not? He's the reason you threw away a $2.3 billion merger. The reason your stock is worthless. The reason I had to explain to 12 board members why my son chose poverty over legacy. I chose family over empire. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, you chose fantasy over reality. You think playing father for 3 months makes you qualified? You think showing up to libraries erases 7 years of absence? Kai pressed against Maya's leg, sensing danger. Not understanding it but feeling it. Mama, I don't like him. I know, baby. We're leaving. You're not leaving, Jae-hyun said. Not a threat. A fact. Because I have something to say and Jae-hyun is going to listen. I'm done listening to you. Then listen to this. I bought out your remaining investors. Frozen your consulting contracts. Called in every favor you had left. By the end of the week, you'll have nothing. No income. No prospects. No way to provide for that child you suddenly care so much about. I'll figure it out. Will you? Because Maya deserves to know what kind of man you really are. The kind who chooses pride over practicality. The kind who'll let his son go hungry rather than admit he made a mistake. My son won't go hungry. Your son? Jae-hyun laughed. Cold. Sharp. He's not your son. He's a stranger's child you're playing house with because you had a midlife crisis in a bridal shop. And when the money runs out, when reality hits, you'll abandon him just like you abandoned everything else that required actual sacrifice. Get away from us, Maya said. Her voice was steel. Before I call the police. For what? Standing in a parking lot? Having a conversation with my son? For harassment. For threatening my child. I didn't threaten anyone. I simply told the truth. Jae-hyun is broke. Getting broker. And when he can't afford to buy dinosaur books and library trips and whatever other bribes he's using to purchase your affection, you'll see what I see. A failure trying to play hero. Jae-hyun opened his car door. Paused. You have 2 weeks. Then I'm offering you a deal. Come back. Apologize. Marry someone appropriate. And I'll restore everything I took. And if I don't? Then watch your son learn what poverty feels like. Watch Maya realize you can't protect them with good intentions. Watch everything you think you've built crumble because you chose feelings over facts. He got in the car. Drove away. Left them standing in the library parking lot with Kai crying and Maya shaking and Jae-hyun realizing his father was right about one thing. This was war. And he just lost the first battle. That night, Jae-hyun couldn't sleep. Sat in his Tribeca penthouse, the one he'd have to sell within months, and stared at his phone. Bank statements. Consulting contracts mysteriously cancelled. Emails from former colleagues suddenly unreturned. His father worked fast. Systematic. Ruthless. By morning, 3 more clients had dropped him. Restructuring priorities. Budget cuts. Going in a different direction. All lies. All his father's doing. Jae-hyun knew because one of them, his former college roommate, had the decency to call. I'm sorry, man. Your father called my CEO personally. Said anyone who works with you will regret it. I have a family. I can't, I understand. Do you? Because you're about to be blacklisted from every major company in 3 countries. Whatever you did to piss him off, I chose my son over his approval. That's it. That's what this is about. That's everything. His friend was quiet. Then, good luck. You're going to need it. The call ended. Jae-hyun's financial advisor called next. We need to talk about liquidating assets. Your father's frozen the trust fund. Your stock portfolio is tanking because someone's spreading rumors about insider trading. Let me guess. My father. He's not directly connected, but the timing is suspicious. Point is, you're burning through capital. At this rate, you have maybe 6 months before. Before what? Before you're actually broke. Not billionaire playing poor broke. Actually living paycheck to paycheck broke. 6 months. That's how long he had to figure out how to provide for a child he'd only known for 3 months. How to prove to Maya he wasn't the failure his father predicted. How to be the father Kai deserved while his entire world collapsed. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. But he knew who it was. 2 weeks. Then you come crawling back. Or you watch everything burn. Your choice. Father. Jae-hyun stared at the message. Thought about responding. Didn't. Because what could he say? That he'd chosen love over money, and somehow that would magically make everything okay. That being present for his son would pay rent. That good intentions fed hungry children? His father was right about one thing: feelings didn't pay bills. And Jae-hyun was about to learn exactly how expensive choosing family over empire could be. Another text. This one from Maya. Kai keeps asking about the man in the parking lot. I told him he was nobody. But he's not nobody, is he? He's the reason you look terrified. What did he say after we left? Jae-hyun typed 3 different responses. Deleted all of them. Finally settled on. Nothing important. Don't worry about it. She responded immediately. I'm not an idiot, Jae-hyun. I saw his face. I heard the threat. What's he planning? To make me regret choosing you and Kai over his empire. Can he? The question sat there. Brutal. Honest. Terrifying. Because the answer was yes. Yes, his father could make him regret it. Could take away every financial safety net. Could reduce him to nothing. Could make providing for Kai nearly impossible. Could prove that love without resources was just poverty with good intentions. But Jae-hyun typed. No. He can take my money. My reputation. My connections. But he can't take what matters. Which is? Being Kai's father. That's not negotiable. Maya didn't respond for 5 minutes. Then, Kai wants to know if you're still coming to dinner Wednesday. Spaghetti night. I'll be there. Even if your father, especially if my father tries to stop me. I'm not missing spaghetti. Jae-hyun? Yeah? Don't let him destroy you. Too late. I'm already destroyed. I'm just rebuilding as something different. Something better. He hoped that was true. Hope choosing his son over billions wasn't the most expensive mistake of his life. Hope that when the money ran out and reality hit, Kai would still look at him with those trusting eyes and call him family. But hope didn't pay rent. And his father knew it. 2 weeks until the ultimatum expired. 2 weeks to figure out how to survive without an empire. 2 weeks to prove that being a father was worth more than being rich. The clock was ticking. And Jae-hyun had no idea if he'd chosen right. 3 weeks after the parking lot confrontation, Jae-hyun lost everything that used to define him. The board voted unanimously to remove him as CEO. 13-0. People he'd hired. People he'd trusted. People his father had bought. The press release was clinical. Professional. Devastating. Due to erratic decision-making and failure to prioritize shareholder value, the board has decided new leadership is required. Erratic decision-making. That's what they called choosing his son over a merger. His stock became worthless overnight. Investors pulled out so fast the SEC opened an investigation into potential manipulation. They'd find nothing because his father was too smart to leave evidence. Just whispers. Suggestions. Carefully placed doubts about Jae-hyun's stability. By week 2, his consulting business dried up completely. No one returned calls. No one wanted to be associated with the billionaire who'd imploded over a kid that wasn't even his. By week 3, Jae-hyun was surviving on savings and trying to figure out how to explain to Maya that he couldn't afford to keep the Tribeca penthouse past month's end. But he showed up for Kai anyway. Tuesday library visits. Thursday park trips. Saturday morning cartoons at Maya's apartment because his place was being packed up by movers. Kai didn't know his Jae-hyun was broke. Didn't know that the dinosaur books he loved cost more than Jae-hyun could afford, but he bought them anyway because watching Kai's face light up was worth skipping meals. Didn't know that Jae-hyun Dad, the new name Kai had started using, a bridge between stranger and father, was barely holding it together. Maya knew. She saw the way he checked price tags now. The way he suggested free activities instead of museums. The way his clothes were the same ones from weeks ago because he'd stopped buying new things. She cornered him one Thursday after Kai fell asleep during a park visit, small head on Jae-hyun's lap, completely trusting. You're struggling. It wasn't a question. I'm fine. You're wearing the same jacket you wore 2 weeks ago. You suggested we pack lunches instead of buying food. You flinched when Kai asked about going to the aquarium. The aquarium's overpriced. Stop lying. Your father did something, didn't he? He's destroying you financially. It doesn't matter. It does matter. You can barely afford. I can afford what matters. Books. Park trips. Being here. For how long? The question hung between them. Brutal. Necessary. As long as it takes. Jae-hyun, I'm not leaving. I'm not disappearing. I don't care if I have to work 3 jobs and live in a studio apartment. I'm showing up. Let me help. I have money saved. The design business is doing well. No. That's your pride talking. That's my responsibility talking. He's my son. I provide for him. He's our son. And you're drowning. There's no shame in accepting help. There is when I'm supposed to be the father. When I'm supposed to protect him. When I'm the reason you're both targets of my father's revenge. Maya was quiet. Then, he called me yesterday. Jae-hyun's blood went cold. What? Your father. Called my business line. Said he wanted to commission a wedding dress. For your future wife. After you came to your senses. What did you say? I told him to go to hell. Then I blocked the number. But Jae-hyun, he's not going to stop. He's going to keep pushing until what? Until I abandon Kai? Until I prove him right? Until you break. That's what he wants. To watch you fail so completely that you come crawling back. Then he's going to be disappointed. You're running out of money. I can see it. What happens when savings run out? When you can't afford your apartment? When I'll figure it out. How? I don't know. The words came out too loud. Kai stirred but didn't wake. Jae-hyun lowered his voice. I don't know how. But I'll figure it out because the alternative is proving my father right. Proving that choosing Kai was a mistake. And I won't. His voice broke. Maya reached across the bench. Took his hand. You're not alone in this. I have to be. That's what being a father means. No. Being a father means accepting help when your child needs it. And right now, Kai needs you whole. Not broken by pride. Jae-hyun looked at his son. Sleeping peacefully. Trusting that the adults would figure it out. I don't know how to do this, he whispered. Neither did I when he was born. But you learn. You adapt. You survive. What if I can't? Then we do it together. But you have to let me in. Actually in. Not just for park visits and library trips. Into the hard parts. The scary parts. The parts where you don't have answers. Jae-hyun wanted to argue. Wanted to insist he could handle it alone. But his bank account said otherwise. His cancelled contracts said otherwise. His father's systematic destruction said otherwise. Okay, he said finally. Okay. It was the hardest word he'd ever spoken. And the most necessary. The email came on a Friday. Subject line. Opportunity. From Richard Chin, former competitor, now CEO of the second largest supply chain optimization firm in Asia. Jae-hyun, heard about your situation. Unfortunate. But I'm not one to let talent go to waste because of family drama. VP of Asia Pacific Operations. Based in Singapore. 2-year contract minimum. $850,000 salary plus equity. You'd be rebuilding our presence in markets you know better than anyone. Position starts in 6 weeks. Let me know. Singapore. The same city where he'd closed the deal instead of flying home for Maya's birthday 7 years ago. The same city where he'd chosen $50 million in funding over their anniversary. The same city that represented every mistake he'd ever made about what mattered. But $850,000. That was more than enough to provide for Kai. More than enough to prove his father wrong about poverty. More than enough to rebuild everything he'd lost. Except it required leaving. 2 years minimum. 2 years of video calls and missed moments, and being exactly the absent father he'd promised not to be. He stared at the email for 3 hours. Didn't respond. Couldn't respond. Because both answers felt wrong. That night, he told Maya. They were cleaning up after dinner, spaghetti night, Kai's favorite, now a weekly tradition. Kai was in the living room building a block tower and narrating an elaborate story about dinosaurs who were also astronauts. I got a job offer, Jae-hyun said quietly. Maya's hands stilled in the soapy water. That's good. Right. Singapore. VP position. $850,000. 2 years minimum. She was quiet. Then, Singapore. Yeah. The same city. I know. The irony isn't lost on me. Are you going to take it? I don't know. It's enough money to provide for Kai properly. To prove my father wrong. To rebuild everything I lost. But you'd be gone. For 2 years. I'd visit. Video calls every day. Fly back for holidays. You'd miss his 6th birthday. His first day of first grade. 2 years of park trips and library visits and spaghetti Wednesdays. I know. So why are you even considering it? Because what happens when my savings run out? When I can't afford books or birthday presents or, he doesn't need expensive presents. He needs you. He needs both. He needs a father who's present and a father who can provide. Right now I can barely do either. Maya turned to face him. Hands dripping. Expression complicated. Can I be honest? Please. If you take this job, you'll lose him. Maybe not legally. But emotionally. 2 years is forever to a 5-year-old. He won't understand why you left. He'll just know you're gone. Again. But if I don't take it, then you figure something else out. Something that doesn't require abandoning him. I'm not abandoning, that's exactly what it is. You can call it providing. Call it rebuilding. Call it whatever makes you feel better. But to Kai, it's his Jae-hyun dad choosing something else over being here. Sound familiar? The words hit like a slap. Because she was right. This was 7 years ago all over again. Different city. Different excuse. Same choice. What if there is no other option? Jae-hyun asked. What if it's Singapore or poverty? Then we choose poverty. Because money can be earned. Time can't. And 2 years of his childhood? You don't get that back. That's easy to say when you're not the one watching your son go without. Go without what? Designer toys? Expensive trips? He has what matters. He has us. He has stability. He has adults who show up. But for how long? My father's not going to stop. He's going to keep squeezing until you break. I know. But taking this job? That's breaking. That's letting him win. That's proving he was right, that you choose money over Kai the moment things got hard. That's not fair. None of this is fair. But it's reality. You take Singapore, you lose your son. You stay, you figure something out. Those are the options. Jae-hyun looked at Kai through the doorway. Building towers. Laughing. Completely. Unaware his father was considering leaving. I don't know if I can do this. He whispered. Do what? Stay broke. Stay powerless. Watch my father win. Your father already lost. He just doesn't know it yet. Because he thinks money equals power. But you have something he'll never have. What? A son who loves you. Who runs to you. Who calls you Jae-hyun dad and asks when you're coming back. That's not something money can buy. That's not something Singapore can replace. But it doesn't pay rent. No. But it's worth more than any salary. And if you can't see that, if you're actually considering leaving him for a paycheck, then maybe your father's right about you. She walked out. Left him standing in the kitchen with soapy dishes and an email that promised everything except what mattered. Kai appeared in the doorway. Jae-hyun dad? You okay? Yeah, buddy. Just thinking. About what? About choosing you or choosing security. About being broke or being absent. About whether love is enough when the bills come due. Nothing important. Want to build towers with me? Yeah. Kai grabbed his hand, pulled him toward the living room. And Jae-hyun followed his 5-year-old son and tried to figure out how to be the father Kai deserved when the world was demanding he be something else entirely. Jae-hyun didn't know Kai was listening until he heard the small voice from behind the couch. You're leaving? He froze. Maya's eyes went wide. They both turned to see Kai standing there in dinosaur pajamas, clutching the stuffed T-Rex Jae-hyun had bought him 3 weeks ago, tears already streaming down his face. Kai, buddy, you're leaving? Like before? Like when I was a baby? I'm not. It's complicated. Mama said you left before because work was more important. Is work more important again? The question was so simple. So devastating. So exactly the truth Jae-hyun had been trying to avoid. Maya started to intervene, but Jae-hyun held up his hand. This was his to answer. His to fix. His to fail at if he chose wrong. He knelt down. Eye level with his son. Come here. Kai didn't move. You said you'd always come? You said you'd always show up. You promised. I know. So why are you leaving? Because I'm scared. Because I don't have enough money to buy you things. Because I'm worried I can't give you the life you deserve. I don't want things. I want you. But you need things. Food. Clothes. A home. We have a home. Mama's apartment. You come here. We eat spaghetti. We read dinosaur books. That's home. But what if I can't afford? I don't care about afford. Kai's voice cracked. Angry. Hurt. 5 years old and already understanding abandonment better than any child should. I don't care about money or toys or big houses. I just want Jae-hyun, Dad. I just want you to be here. Even if being here means we can't do expensive things? You think I like you because you buy stuff? Kai wiped his nose on his sleeve. I like you because you read to me. Because you answer my questions. Because you came to the library when I asked. Because you're here. The words hit harder than any board meeting. Any investor pitch. Any business strategy his father had ever taught him. You already give me everything, Kai whispered. You just don't know it. Jae-hyun pulled his son into his arms. Held him tight. Felt small hands clutch his shirt like letting go meant disappearing. I'm not leaving, he said. Voice rough. Certain. I'm not taking the Singapore job. I'm staying here. With you. Promise? Promise. I'm staying. I'm figuring out something else. Something that keeps me here. Even if you're poor? Even if I'm poor. Even if we can't afford fancy things. Even if your grandfather thinks I'm a failure. I'm staying. Kai pulled back. Looked at him with those eyes that saw too much and forgave too easily. You're not a failure. You're my Jae-hyun, Dad. Yeah. I am. Maya was crying. Quiet. Power. Showing up was power. Being chosen by a 5-year-old who didn't care about bank accounts or stock portfolios or empire building, that was power. And Jae-hyun finally understood what he'd been too blind to see 7 years ago. You don't measure success by what you build. You measure it by who's waiting for you to come home. And tomorrow morning, Kai would be waiting for pancakes. That was enough. That was everything. If you're still watching, drop a still watching in the comments, because this next part changes everything. 6 months later, Jae-hyun lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens. 7th floor. No doorman. No marble countertops. No floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. Just a decent neighborhood with good schools and a park 3 blocks away where Kai liked to feed squirrels because they were basically tiny dinosaurs if you think about it. The Tribeca penthouse sold for less than he'd paid because his father made sure of it. Contacted the buyer. Suggested structural issues that didn't exist. Dropped the price by $2 million just to watch Jae-hyun lose. The consulting work was steady. Not exciting. Not empire building. Just honest work that paid $180,000 annually and let him pick Kai up from Maya's twice a week and have him sleep over every Saturday. They had routines now. Real routines. Pizza Fridays from the place on the corner that knew their order. Sunday morning cartoons in pajamas. Bedtime stories about dinosaurs and astronauts and little boys who were braver than their fathers. Kai had his own drawer at Jae-hyun's apartment. His own toothbrush. His own side of the bed because he didn't like sleeping alone, and Jae-hyun didn't mind being climbed on at 2 a.m. when nightmares happened. This was life now. Modest. Simple. Nothing like the world Jae-hyun had built before. And he'd never been happier. His father didn't agree. They ran into each other at a business conference in Midtown. Jae-hyun was there networking for consulting contracts. His father was keynoting about legacy and succession planning. The irony was painful. They ended up in the same elevator. Alone. 30 seconds of silence before his father spoke. "You look poor." Jae-hyun glanced down at his off-the-rack suit from Macy's. His scuffed shoes he'd resold instead of replaced. His watch from Target that Kai had picked out because it had dinosaurs on the face. "I'm comfortable." "You're diminished. You used to command rooms. Now you're begging for contract work." "I'm not begging. I'm working." "There's a difference." "Is there?" "Because from where I'm standing, you threw away billions to play house with a woman who's using you and a child who isn't yours. He is mine. Legally now. I finalized the adoption last month." His father's expression didn't change. But something flickered. Surprise, maybe? Or disgust. "You adopted him?" "Yes." "Made it permanent?" "As permanent as it gets." "You're a fool." "I'm a father." "That's more than you ever were." The words hung between them. Sharp. True. Unforgivable. "I gave you everything," his father said quietly. "You gave me money. You gave me expectations. You gave me an empire to inherit. You never gave me a choice. And this is your choice? Poverty? Mediocrity? Raising another man's child? This is my choice. Happiness. Presence. Raising my son. And yeah, maybe I'm not rich anymore. Maybe I'm not powerful. But I'm happy. Actually happy. Can you say the same?" His father stared at him. "Happiness doesn't pay rent." "No. But it makes rent worth paying. It makes waking up worth it. It makes every sacrifice worth it. You wouldn't understand because you've never sacrificed anything that mattered. You've only sacrificed people. I built an empire, you built a prison. And you're still in it. Alone. Angry. Wondering why your son chose a one-bedroom in Queens over a penthouse in Tribeca. Want to know why? Enlighten me. Because Kai waits for me. Because on Friday nights he asks what kind of pizza we're getting. Because on Saturday mornings he climbs into bed and asks if we can watch cartoons. Because he calls me dad without hesitation and hugs me like I'm the most important person in his world. That's worth more than every dollar you ever made. You're delusional. Maybe. But I sleep well. Do you? The elevator doors opened. His father stepped out. Stopped. Look back. When you fail, and you will fail, don't come crawling back. I won't need to. Because I've already succeeded at the thing that matters. Which is? Being chosen. Every day. By a 6-year-old who doesn't care that I'm broke. Who just cares that I show up. His father walked away. They didn't speak again. Not at holidays. Not at family events Jae-hyun stopped attending. Not ever. Some bridges burned completely. Some relationships couldn't survive honesty. And Jae-hyun was okay with that. Because that night, he picked Kai up from Maya's and they got pizza, pepperoni and mushroom, their usual, and walked home through Queens talking about whether Stegosaurus could beat Triceratops in a fight. And when Kai grabbed his hand crossing the street, trusting completely that Jae-hyun would keep him safe, Jae-hyun realized something his father would never understand. Wealth wasn't measured in billions. It was measured in moments like this. Small hands in yours. Trust freely given. Love that didn't require performance or profit or empire. Just presents. Just showing up. Just being dad. He was the richest man in the world. His father would die never knowing what that felt like. And that was the saddest thing Jae-hyun could imagine. The school's Father's Day event was in a gymnasium decorated with construction paper and enthusiasm. Tables set up with wood, glue, tiny hammers. 20 fathers and their kids building birdhouses while teachers supervised and someone's mom took photos for the school newsletter. Jae-hyun showed up in jeans and a flannel shirt, looking nothing like the billionaire CEO he used to be. Kai spotted him immediately. Ran over. "You came!" "Of course I came. You asked me to. Some kids' dads didn't come. Mason's dad is in Chicago for work. Emma's dad forgot. I didn't forget." They found their table. Kai read the instructions with intense focus while Jae-hyun organized the pieces. Around them, other fathers were building. Doctors. Lawyers. Finance guys in casual expensive clothes that screamed wealth without trying. One of them kept staring at Jae-hyun. Finally walked over during the gluing phase. "You're Jae-hyun Park." It wasn't a question. Jae-hyun looked up. Recognized him vaguely. Some tech conference years ago. "Yeah. I heard about what happened. The company. The engagement. The whole situation." He glanced at Kai. "Rough." "Not really." "No? Because I heard you lost everything. Billions. All of it. I lost money. I gained something better." "Which is?" Jae-hyun looked at Kai, carefully applying wood glue with the seriousness of a surgeon. "Him." The man laughed. Not cruel. Just confused. "You gave up a tech empire for a kid?" "For my kid." "Yeah. That's insane." "Maybe. But I sleep better now." "Sleeping better doesn't pay for private school." "Good thing we're at public school then." The man didn't know what to say to that. Walked back to his table shaking his head. Probably thought Jae-hyun had lost his mind along with his money. Maybe he had. But his mind was happier now. They finished the birdhouse. Painted it blue because that was Kai's favorite color. Added a tiny perch that was slightly crooked but Kai insisted was perfect for small birds with balance issues. When it was time to present, each father-son pair stood up and showed their work. Described what they built together. When it was their turn, Kai stood proud. Held up the birdhouse like a trophy. "This is my dad. His name is Jae-hyun. He wasn't here when I was little because he made mistakes. But he's here now and that's what matters. We built this together and it's a little crooked but it's ours and I love it." The room applauded. Polite. Warm. Some mothers wiped their eyes. Jae-hyun's throat was tight. Then Kai turned to him. Whispered so only Jae-hyun could hear. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Can I call you just Dad now?" "Not Jae-hyun Dad." "Just Dad?" Jae-hyun's vision blurred. 7 months. 7 months of Jae-hyun Dad. Of that hyphenated compromise between stranger and father. Of Kai being cautious, being careful, keeping one foot in protection mode in case Jae-hyun disappeared again. And now this. Permission to be just Dad. Simple. Complete. Permanent. "Yeah," Jae-hyun managed. "You can call me Dad." "Okay. Thanks, Dad." Dad. Not Jae-hyun. Not Jae-hyun Dad. Just Dad. The word he'd been working towards since that day in the bridal boutique 9 months ago. The word worth more than every dollar he'd lost. The word that meant Kai trusted him completely. They sat back down. Kai leaned against him. "I'm glad you're my dad. I'm glad I'm your dad too. Even though you're poor now? Especially because I'm poor now. Because it means I chose you over money. And I'd make that choice every time." "Good. Because I don't care about money. I just care about you being here. I'll always be here. Promise?" "Promise." Around them, other fathers were taking photos with expensive phones and talking about vacation homes and private tutors and investment portfolios. Jae-hyun's phone was 2 years old. His vacation was the park 3 blocks away. His investment was time with Kai. And he'd never been richer. The man from earlier caught his eye across the room. Still looking confused. Still not understanding how someone could walk away from billions. Jae-hyun didn't bother explaining. Because some things couldn't be explained to people who measured worth in dollars. Some things required a different currency. Like trust. Like presence. Like a 6-year-old whispering, "Can I call you Dad?" and meaning it. After the event, they walked home carrying the crooked birdhouse. Kai talked the entire way about where they should hang it. "Maybe outside your window. So you can see birds when you wake up? Perfect spot. And when I sleep over on Saturdays I can see them too? Absolutely. Dad?" The words still made Jae-hyun's chest tight. "Yeah, buddy? I'm really glad you came today. Mason said his dad makes more money but he's never home. I think I got the better deal." "You definitely did. You think the birds will like our house?" "I think any bird would be lucky to live in something we built together." Kai beamed. Grabbed his hand. Swung it while they walked. And Jae-hyun thought about his father. About the empire. About everything he'd lost to get to this moment. Worth it. Every sacrifice. Every dollar. Every burned bridge. All of it. For this. For being called Dad. For building crooked birdhouses and walking home through Queens and being chosen by someone who saw past the money to the man underneath. His father would never understand. And that was okay. Because Kai did. And Kai's opinion was the only one that mattered. After the Father's Day event, Maya asked Jae-hyun to stay after Kai went to bed. She'd been quiet all evening. Not upset. Just thoughtful. The way she looked when she was designing something complicated and needed to get the proportions exactly right. They sat on her couch with cheap wine from the bodega downstairs. The apartment was quiet except for Kai's white noise machine humming through the bedroom door. "I need to tell you something," Maya said. "Okay. I've been thinking about it for weeks. Months, maybe. But today, watching Kai call you Dad, I can't keep it inside anymore." Jae-hyun's stomach tightened. "You're scaring me. I didn't leave 7 years ago because I stopped loving you." The words hung in the air. Heavy. Complicated. True. I left because I loved you too much to watch you disappear into your ambition. You were fading. Every day. A little more obsessed. A little more absent. And I thought if I left you'd wake up. You'd realize what mattered. You'd choose differently. I didn't. No. You didn't. Not for 7 years. And I hated you for that. I hated that I was right. That you chose the empire over me. Over us. Over the family we could have been. Maya, let me finish. Please. She took a shaky breath. When I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after leaving, I almost called you. Almost told you. But then I saw you on Forbes. Saw the interview where you talked about sacrifice and focus and how personal relationships were necessary distractions you managed around business priorities. You said that. On camera. Like I was a distraction you'd managed. I was an idiot, you were honest. And I realized telling you about Kai would have been cruel. To him. Not to you. Because you would have done your duty. Provided financially. Showed up for birthdays. But you wouldn't have been present. Not really. You would have been the father who called from business trips and sent expensive gifts and wondered why his son didn't know him. You were protecting him. I was protecting both of you. Because the Jae-hyun you were then? He would have resented Kai. Resented the obligation. The disruption to his perfectly optimized life. And Kai would have felt it. Kids always feel it when they're unwanted. I would never, you would have. Not intentionally. Not cruelly. But every missed soccer game, every cancelled weekend, every time you chose a meeting over a moment, Kai would have known he wasn't enough. That he'd never be enough to make you stay. Jae-hyun's chest hurt. Because she was right. 7 years ago, he would have been exactly that father. present but absent. There but gone. Providing everything except what mattered. So why tell me now? Because I see who you are now. And I'm terrified. Of what? Of falling for you again. Of letting Kai get more attached. Of believing this version of you is real and not just guilt-driven performance that'll fade when something shinier comes along. This isn't performance. How do I know that? How do I trust that you won't wake up one day and realize you gave up too much? That modest apartments and consulting work aren't enough? That you miss the power and the money and the empire? You don't. You can't. You just have to watch me. Keep watching. I'll prove it. For how long? A year? 2 years? 10? When does the audition end? Never. It never ends. That's what being a father means. You don't get to coast. You don't get to stop showing up. It's every day. Forever. Maya's eyes filled. I want to believe you. Then try. That's all I'm asking. Try believing me. Try trusting that I'm different. Try letting yourself. He stopped. Couldn't say it. She said it for him. Fall for you again? Yeah. I'm already halfway there. That's what terrifies me. Because last time I fell for you, you shattered me. And I survived it. Barely. But if you do it again, if you break Kai's heart, I don't know if I'll survive watching that. I won't, you can't promise that. People change. You changed once. You could change back. Not this time. How? Can you be sure? Because I know what it cost me. I know what I lost. And I'm never, never, making that mistake again. Kai is my son. He stopped. Looked at her. Really looked. You're the woman I loved and lost and found again. And I'm not losing either of you. We're not together, I know. And I'm not asking us to be. I'm just asking you to believe that I see what matters now. That I won't choose wrong again. That if you let yourself feel something for me, if you let us become something more, I won't waste it. Maya was quiet. Tears on her cheeks. Then, I need time. I know. And I need you to keep showing up. Keep proving it. Keep being dad even when it's hard. I will. And if you ever make Kai feel like he's not enough, I won't. He's everything. You both are. She looked at him for a long moment. Then leaned forward. Kissed him. Soft. Brief. Terrifying. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. Don't make me regret this. I won't. You better not. Because Kai deserves better. And so do I. I know. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life being better. Being worth it. She smiled. Small. Scared. Hopeful. Then keep showing up, Jae-hyun. That's all we need. Just keep showing up. I will. Every day. I promise. And for the first time in 7 years, Maya believed him.